So you're all aware, this is going to be a longer video. It's more of a podcast format. Feel free to throw us on in the background. We're going to be talking about all the different aspects of the speakers, his knowledge and experience and history with sound and music and audio and in the industry and everything like that. I think that people need to know about Atom Audio. When I'm enthusiastic about a product, I like to share that product with people. Like you all know, the chair, like I'm sitting on the Crandall chair, and the keyboards, I'm trying all these new keyboards, trying to find that. And you know from my videos that when I'm passionate about something, I want to share it with people, be it bad or good. And the good factor on these was so exponentially better than what I had experienced, because I had the old KRKs for over 10 years and they still worked. Yeah. I didn't have to replace them, but the difference between that emotional response and I have good studio monitor speakers was so exponentially different that I was like, I just got to do it. I have to replace these. Maybe you've heard of KRK and you've heard of Yamaha and you're on the same journey that I was on when I was looking for speakers. And I really wanted to get this video out to you, but I wanted to wait until I had you here, because he really does have a plethora of experience that I needed someone to confirm what I was hearing, but also has like the audiophile ear. You know what I mean? The point of this was that I know not a lot of people don't know about these speakers because there's YouTube. Look, I'm not saying that people are biased. I'm saying that YouTube has a tendency to push people in certain directions because that's the ones that are sending out the most stuff for people to review. And so the brands like KRK and Yamaha are recommended so much because they're being put in the hands of more reviewers. Atom Audio isn't putting as many speakers out there in the hands of reviewers, which I think maybe you should, because the experience I had, and had I known that before even going to the store, it would have been completely different. I would have just been like, hey, play these for me. If you're looking at these speakers, or you're looking at like the Atom Audio line of speakers, should give you an insight on what you're going to get yourself into. And I think it's important because I had never heard of these speakers until I just happened to be recommended, hey, try this one. It's in your price range. And I was like, okay, and it was the lower version. And once I tried that lower version, I went, let me just flip the switch, because Guitar Center, they have like a whole thing where you can try the different speakers.
Nice.
So I flipped the switch to the A7s.
Yes.
And I regretted it immediately because I was like, I'm going to lose money today. Hey everyone, it's Tristan from Crafting Worlds, and today we have a special kind of format for you. It's kind of a podcast / first impressions. Not my first impressions, but actually I have a special guest with us today. And I always talk in this voice in all my videos, as you know. This is my dad, Gene Pope. You wanna talk about why you're here? Maybe? Like why would I invite my dad to listen to some speakers is the real question.
Well, I was,
Other than he's old and he can't hear anything anymore, so he'll think anything's good.
There's that. But I was in the neighborhood and, I wanted some pizza, so I stopped by and said...
We do have good pizza.
We got, so we can get some pizza going here. And no, I wanted to hear these speakers. Tristan has been talking about them a lot. And I went, okay, well, if he's got the same ear as I do, so I was interested in seeing what I would hear.
So the speakers in question are the A7V Atom Audio. I had gone out a couple of months ago because I had KRK Rockets and they were 5s, but from like 10 years ago. So pre-Kevlar generation, they were made out of wood. They had a fantastic sound profile, one of the best I've ever had, and that's why I kept them for so long. Unfortunately, over time, they started to, the inside internals just kind of started to degrade, and so I was getting hiss. And at a tiny setup like this, any type of hiss will drive you crazy. Yeah. And so I was like, well, let me see what the new KRKs sound like. So I went to Guitar Center and I started listening to different KRKs. And I was like, well, I'm not buying new speakers. I don't know what they've done. It was the most tin canny sounding. It literally sounded like someone took like a coffee jar and put a speaker inside. Like your iPhone, you know how you can like make, if you put it in a bowl, it sounds louder? That's what it sounded like for like professional $1,000 speakers. And I was like, what happened? And everybody's like, oh, but the Kevlar and it's just a better build. And I was like, no.
It's all about the ears.
But I even asked the guy, like I was at the guitar center and I was like, do these sound good to you? And he was like, how long has it been since you've tried KRK? And I was like, it's been like 10 years. I have these. He's like, oh, those are good. I was like, so these are not good? He's like, why don't you listen to, like, he kind of skirted the question. And he's like, why don't you come listen to these? And I was like, what, these? I was like, those look expensive. I was like, what about the Yamahas? Because this was, I'm going off of YouTube. By the thanks YouTube for bringing me down the rabbit hole. But like, I'm looking at YouTube and the Yamaha H8s were like the next, you gotta get these. They look awesome. They come in white with a black circle, which speaking of, we need to just like sidebar just for a second. Adam Audio is the best company I have ever dealt with in my entire life. I bought these two, the A7Vs, right, in black, because that's all they had. And I was like, oh man, because my old speakers were white. And I was like, I really like the white, and I had them for so long. And, you know, I got the black ones and I put them on my desk and I was like, wow, these look really fancy. Like they look nice. But I was like, man, I wish I had the white ones. And then a month later, no shit, they come out with a limited edition white version. And I was like, son of a bitch. So I emailed the company and I said, I will send you back my speakers. I will pay whatever the difference is. No problem. And they literally sent me back an email like within days and said, we will send you the new ones, because I explained like how much I liked these speakers, and they were like, we'll send you the new ones and you can keep the old ones. Just put them side by side if you talk about them. If you talk about them. If. Like I wasn't required to do this. They sent them to me, that nobody was paid. Like it was just like, if you want to, since you like them.
That's smart, being a smart company, you know, I'll tell you what.
I was like, that's cool.
It's good marketing.
And I was so happy because like, this is the color scheme that I go for all the time. Although it's so crazy because I'm starting to like the rugged look on these. So like, I'm having trouble like picking what I want. Cause like,
it's because you're getting older.
Well, right. Well, so the one thing is that the black ones have like a matte black finish. And then the white ones, they're shiny. And so I feel like the matte black kind of gives it more of a professional look, whereas the white is a little bit like a toy. I don't know if that makes any sense. I love the front. I think the front looks really good, but then like the whole speaker, because it's shiny.
It's a lacquer finish. It's they would call it.
I wish it was a matte white. Like that would have been really cool. They're they have like a sandpaper texture. If you like rub a fingernail across it or anything, it leaves a mark. So in terms of like longevity, I think the white ones will last longer. Easy to clean this, right? But
they look pretty cool too, I have to say.
I think they both look really cool. I just have to figure out what my desk and office aesthetic is now. So we'll figure it out. I guess once I figure out my keyboard, because we're in that journey now, I guess I'll match it to my speakers.
Right.
But either way, thank you so much, Adam Audio, for this, because I just think it's a fantastic customer service. And so I wanted to do a special type of video. And so that's why I brought this guy here.
Yeah, because I know nothing about music or recording or anything.
Right. So... Okay, so the reason I brought this guy as like a special guest is because, not just because he's my dad, but so I called him from the store when I was testing out the speakers. So let's go back to the speaker thing. So I tested the Yamaha H8s, and I literally, after listening for about 10 seconds, was like, this hurts my ears. I have fatigue in my ears right now. And I asked the store guy, I was like, is this normal? And he was like, yeah, they're not that great either. And I'm like, well, what is good then? He's like, well, why don't you listen to the Adam Audio 5s? I don't remember exactly the moniker for it. And so I listened to those and I was like, what? And they were cheaper than the KRKs that I was looking at in the first place. And then I made a mistake. I listened to the AV7s and they were significantly more expensive. And I was like, oh crap. Because the difference between the A5s and the A7Vs was emotions. This is the only way I can describe this. I remember I told you this on the phone. Like, I don't know if when you listen to music, you get goosebumps or you feel something. You get like an emotional response. And I wasn't getting an emotional response from any other speaker except for the AV7s. But it was like a visceral, oh my God, this makes me feel so good. And I ended up talking to the guy at Guitar Hero for, I don't know, a couple hours.
Wow.
We just sat there and
that's a good salesman there.
We did. And he gave me an incredible deal. He price matched some stuff. And so like we talked for a couple hours and he let me listen to music for a while. One guy comes up, well, you gotta keep playing music. I was like, why are you in the music store if you don't want to hear music?
What else are you gonna be playing?
I was like, no, I'm gonna break out the banjo. I'm gonna do a live show.
Horses running or something? I don't know. The heck.
So anyway, the one old man aside, everybody was super nice, and they kept coming over.
You mean like me? Yes.
Yeah. Well, they kept coming over and being like, "Oh, yeah, those are good speakers." And like one guy was like, "Oh yeah, I bought and he bought like the more expensive ones." He's like, "Oh, I got these and like the sideways ones, and like they have versions of these that are horizontal that just like give even more kick."
Interesting. Yeah.
They're very cool designs. I didn't know anything about these, and I didn't know that their tweeters were specially built. I didn't know that they were like designed and crafted in Germany or something. I don't remember exactly where. I should probably.
You're asking me, the old guy, to remember this stuff.
Well, I remember you did research because
I did.
So I called him because I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, like this is a big purchase," and I get nervous about big purchases. I hate spending a lot of money, but
It's nerve-wracking, yeah.
It had been 10 years since I had upgraded my speakers. I figured, if I got 10 years out of the speakers prior, and if I get 10 years out of these, plus like these have an extended warranty. You sign up and you get like a 15, I don't know, 15, 10, I don't know. It's a good warranty.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, like, it's time. But I called him because he is, why don't you tell them why I called you? How about that?
When I got out of college, I immediately started work at Brunswick Records in Chicago and learned everything about the recording arts. And I worked at multiple studios in Chicago. And this was at the time of a major R&B explosion. And so let's just say that I know every speaker out there just about and what the sound is like. And later on in my life, I started a record company called Pope Music, which was distributed worldwide and was very successful. We kept recording, going into the old analog studios, recording stuff. And unfortunately, Napster came along when music became free, and that was it.
Yeah, it changed. I mean, it changed the whole landscape. But like,
everything.
You were putting audio on gold CDs because gold CDs sounded better.
Yes.
And you had tell them about the studio that you had set up.
You mean in the house?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had it was completely soundproofed because it was a house that was being built. And so I created downstairs in the basement this studio for listening and for tweaking, mastering our recordings. It wasn't a full recording studio.
Wasn't it ranked like something? What was it ranked in the U.S.? I swear it was like fourth best sound studio in the U.S.
Yeah, I don't even remember that. I don't remember that. I can tell you that the New York Times wrote a glowing review, which is still out there, about Pope Music, and they said these are the finest classical recordings in the world. So let's just say that for me, I have an ear.
Yes, and he raised me with that because I would, I'd come into the sound studio while he's working. Hi, come on. So I'd be, while he's working, and I would just sit in the corner and just listen to music because it was fantastic. Like the setup that was there was just out of this world.
It was designed to be as fine a sound as possible so that we could evaluate what we were recording and how to improve it as for each CD we made.
Well, and so I called him with this in mind specifically because I know that he knows speakers and I know that he knows audio, but what I was experiencing from a very affordable set of speakers for what they're doing, I was experiencing something that I hadn't experienced before, which was this emotional attachment to a speaker. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is happening? And so I wanted him to do a little research on it and go like, you know, is this a good speaker? You started Googling like how they did the manufacturing, how the tweeters were made, how it was a brand new like design, like an accordion.
Completely different design, yeah.
Oh, they have headphones now.
That's interesting.
Send me. My Sennheisers need to go in the garbage. They have a microphone that will plug into the speakers, and you can balance your room through that microphone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't have that microphone, obviously, but if I wanted to balance the room, I could. But like, I'm gonna play it for him. So he hasn't heard the speakers, and so I wanted him to experience what, you know, I obviously I ended up buying them, right? And so I want him to experience what I felt. I want him to validate my purchase. But I also I also want you to experience the idea, like what these speakers can do, because they're punching so much above their weight class. And I feel as though when I would go in that studio with you and listen to your speakers, these are the first speakers since then that gave me that kind of an emotional response, and they are a fraction of the cost.
And they're a fraction of the size. The speakers we used to use were literally, about 7 feet high and about this wide. And each one was a couple of 100 pounds. So the technology has come a long way.
So the thing that I think made these stick out to me was that the tweeters, which are these little guys right here, and they're like accordions folded up, and they're made in Berlin, Germany, and they're made from the ground up. They're brand new technology. They're called X-Art Tweeter technology. And they have a front plate, a pole plate, a diaphragm, a felt plate, a magnet, a felt holder, bushing, and a pole plate. So, and then like the actual thing looks like this. It's like a
ribbon.
Like a ribbon.
Yeah.
And then they just fold it up, and so that's constantly like vibrating in a way that just, I don't know, it lets the air out in such a unique way.
Well, I'll tell you what I think, that just having, looked at these, is that the advantage of having it folded is that you've got if you unfolded that, it would be probably about that big. And so when you normally have a tweeter for high frequencies, it's about that big. In this speaker, you have one that's literally almost this big vibrating. And so what it does is you don't have to push the material as hard with as much power to get a certain level of loudness. Therefore, it keeps the detail. The detail is there's more detail in the higher frequencies. And that's what gives you the sense of presence, three-dimensional.
Right. I took the plunge because we did the research and I was like, all right. And Guitar Center gave me an amazing deal. Actually, shout out to them in Paramus. I got them home, and I was having a little bit of like buyers like, holy shit,
this better work.
So they're $1,500 for a pair, which is not cheap, but it's also not the most expensive out there. But it's not cheap.
By far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this stupid phone is more expensive than these speakers, which is insane to me. I plugged them in, and I went and played my playlist again in my room, not audio treated. I didn't balance my room. Every single song I listened to for like an hour and a half, and I just sat there and listened to music for like an hour and a half, and just the whole time I'm chills everywhere. Every song I played, I was like, what the hell? And then it made me want to go try lossless audio, because I was like, how does that sound through these? And that was like, whoa.
Yes.
So,
a lot of detail there. Yeah.
So like after the research that you did, the research I did, and then the in-store listening, I was like, okay, first of all, you have to come and listen to these, because these are the closest things that I've ever had to your sound room, which is insane to even compare those two, because
it was
like that's
a lot more money it took to build that.
Right.
That's for sure.
But like I just felt like you would appreciate what was happening here.
Absolutely.
So why don't we skip ahead, and why don't we go listen to what these sound like, and then we'll come back and we'll chat about what your experience is with the actually having listened to them.
Can't wait.
Cool. So it was in that part specifically.
Yeah.
When the bow finishes the flourish, you can hear the strings go. Wum, 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 wum.
Oh no, the detail is amazing.
Like
detail is absolutely amazing.
For the price of these,
yeah.
Like this one little section sold me because I could not hear this little flourish on any other speaker, and I think it's these tweeters.
It's the tweeters for sure.
But listen one more time.
It's also how they build these.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna pump it up a little bit louder because I want you to just like really hear it. Like that transition from from the flourish to the back to the and you're like, holy shit, you can feel when the bow it re-hits the strings and like the resonation that was from the last notes hits it back.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. Whoa. First of all, I love this song.
Right, it's a great song, right?
I literally put this. That's crazy that you put it on your special list too. I listened to this song and I went, "This is a great song."
Well, and so the mixture, of bass, and his vocals, these speakers are. You don't need the subwoofer. I mean, you could if you wanted to go crazy.
Yeah.
And also on the back of these, you can adjust the frequencies so that you can have higher mids, lower mids, higher lows.
Here's what's interesting about listening to this on these speakers. What I heard much more of was the reverb around him.
Yes.
It's like a room
as
opposed to a single source reverb.
These speakers to me feel like you're in the recording room with them.
Yes.
And I can't help but no matter what song I listen to, I get chills every time.
And I'll tell you this, it's like I'm in a recording studio all over again. That's the quality I'm listening to here.
Compared to like your...
Oh, cellos?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm not saying that they're going to beat the cellos necessarily, but I'm saying like for what they are and the size of them.
Yeah, but the cellos would go to the ceiling. It wouldn't be practical.
Right. Well, these are punching above their weight class as well.
There's no doubt about it. It's very good. The detail is incredible.
All right. So now let's go something even crazier. Clean your palate, like smell some coffee. It's so different what I'm about to play for you.
Wow.
So I had to play the whole thing on that one for you because the thing that I find with these speakers is that when you have a deep bass like that, right? Like a voice like that, and then you mix in more deep bass voices, usually you're like, okay, I hear one person.
Right.
You can hear, and then they put the baritones back in, and you can hear every single singer at the same time, all their different voices, and the resonance of the bass.
Oh, it's spooky.
It hits you.
You're in this room with them, and it's like you can hear the room clear as a bell.
Isn't it fantastic?
It's amazing how, God, that's a hell of a sound for that price of speaker.
Aren't these I'm telling you, they're punching like so high above their weight class.
I mean, I don't even quite understand where all the bass is coming from. It sounds like it already has a subwoofer.
So because it's got the front-facing air pockets, it's pushing. This is basically your like bass, and then everything else is just like clarity through this fan thing that they made.
That's crazy.
There's one more song.
There's one more song I'm going to request too.
Oh, cool.
And we just want to hear.
So it's everything in that song, right?
Yeah. That surprised me.
The song or
the amount of bass is and how tight it is.
Yeah, and I have the bass turned down on the settings here. Yeah, we're not bumping bass.
Well, you also get to see the enunciation of the voice, every little cue, you know.
Yeah. Which my old KRKs they did a really good job, but man, like I hadn't upgraded those for over 10 years.
Right.
And unfortunately, when I went to go try those again, I was like, what the happened to these? And then these popped up, and they were cheaper, too, than the KRKs. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I want you to hear something that's completely different now, which is more like rap. So I have because I wanted to try, I tried everything in the store. I was playing classical, I was playing rap, I was playing techno. I wanted to hear everything. I played vocal. The one that shocked me the most, actually, was this one rap song.
vocal.
You get it?
Yeah, the dynamics are crazy.
Right? That's what I was saying. Like, that song is like the epitome of, it has everything. It has processed sound effects. It has vocals that are real. You know what I mean? Like, but then it also has like thumps and stuff that are not in a studio. They obviously added it post.
Yeah.
You can hear the digital.
I'm very impressed with the dynamic range of this, because a lot of rap songs have become very one level only. You know, they were just compressed into mush. But again, it's a new generation, couple of new generations. Can you put it on search for me?
Yep.
I think that's
George
the one.
Ezra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's amazing. Because I know this song so well. Goosebumps on my legs. That's crazy. Wow. Wow. Oh, I love that. I love that. I hear so much more detail in this song, and I felt that this was it was a very well mixed song, and so I said, you know, when I was on my way here, I wanted to hear this song on these speakers, and it's like, it's definitely adds another level.
Yeah,
it's great.
You can hear a depth that you couldn't. I literally could not hear. My ear could not pick up other, like the strings playing. I couldn't hear the violin go.
Yeah.
On the other speakers. These were the only speakers that I could pick it up, especially in this price range. I mean, the higher up you got, obviously, even some of the ones that were higher than this, I couldn't hear anything. Like the Yamahas, the higher up end Yamahas, I was like,
no.
And now we've listened to like 8 songs at this point.
Yeah.
Are you fatigued at all? Like in your eardrums?
No.
You could enjoy this and listen to your songs and not get fatigued over time, which is, like, for a studio monitor, that's pretty cool. So it's what I think. You know what? We should switch around for what I think.
So we can talk.
Yeah. You obviously heard some of the impressions already, because I was recording while we were listening. I can't play the music. I'm so sorry. It wouldn't matter anyway, because you wouldn't be able to hear what it sounds like through these speakers. It's very hard to portray a speaker's audio to an audience. So the best thing we can do is give you our impressions, and I wanted you to get his first impressions, because I've already had mine for so long, and like I've had this emotional attachment to these speakers for a very long time now, and even for gaming, which like I'm editing and I'm mixing audio, and this was one of the things that we talked about at the store, not you and I, but the store clerk, was that we chatted about studio monitors and what they should be. And my intention with a studio monitor, and I agree with this because we were both on the same page on this. A lot of people think a studio monitor should be flat. And I don't disagree with that for certain use cases, because you want it to be the flat audio so that when you're mixing it, it all just kind of comes together. However, the flatter studio monitors, I find, once you're done mixing, you don't know what they sound like until then you move them over to, say, some headphones or like a movie theater or something that's going to give the full-bodied sound and has the surround system and all that good stuff. What I found with these, especially in the editing process and just listening to music in general, was that I was getting the final product in the edit itself without losing that dynamic crystal clarity while listening and enjoying it at the same time. So
I can give you another quick story that will put this in perspective. These speakers this size, we used to have 2 different kinds of speakers in the studio. Some studios nowadays have like 5 different pairs. So the first pair is the master pair, which is what you do your mixing on, which is, they're usually very large speakers, okay? Then on the mixing console, we'd have a pair of these speakers about this size, which were used to see what does the mix sound like on, for lack of a better word, crappier small speakers. Okay, so we would make sure that what we were doing in the full experience of the sound translated enough to the cheaper speakers so that people would enjoy it on that as well. It's a compromise.
Yeah.
These are not those kinds of speakers. This is miraculously a speaker that for its size sounds much fuller and bigger. And that was my first impression that I had immediately. And then it goes on from there, so you tell me how much you want me to say, but it's like, I was absolutely flabbergasted.
No, I want you to say as much as you want, obviously. That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but like,
I thought it was the pizza. Yeah.
No, but he's like, I just want fucking pizza. I don't is this done? Are you done reviewing? Can we have pizza already? Like, holy crap. What I really like, and I'll show you on the back of this, is that you can, to balance it for your room, you would plug in something, I believe, to here. It's a microphone, and then it'll set these different frequencies differently. Are these frequencies? So you have your bass, your desk, your presence, and your treble, and you can do pure UNR or external for voicing. So it'll change the profile of these by a lot.
It's amazing.
I have mine on a flat curve, so it's pretty much just this. Mm-hmm. And as you saw, there's still a massive amount of bass, an excellent balance of treble, and the mids are just beautifully there, always.
Well, here's my measure. What we used to go to the trouble with those huge speakers that were in the studio was to be able to hear the detail. The difference between putting a couple of buds in your ears and listening to speakers is that you're hearing the music and you're hearing perhaps some of the frequencies, and sometimes a cat will jump on your lap while you're doing that, but that's okay. Hey, cutie. What you really want is detail that was put in the original recording, because they work very hard to get that detail in there. And if you don't have that in the speakers you're listening to, you're missing 50% of the impact of the music. When you were talking about goosebumps, I got them as well, because the detail of these speakers is astonishing. I have never heard speakers this size have that much detail where you can hear every nugget of creativity. The high frequencies are clean as a whistle, and they're all there, but they're not too strong. Some of those speaker brands that we used to use, and I won't mention them, but we're in certain studios, would have
Yamaha.
If this was the frequency band, right, from high to low, right, it would be like this, be peaked somewhere in the middle. And so it was very good for dialogue, not so good for music. You were limited. These are razor flat. I mean, you can tune them, yes,
right,
which is great. That's a great advantage. But you're getting all of the detail, and all the frequencies are represented. The amount of bass coming out of these speakers for their size is uncanny. And I'm trying to figure out how the heck did they do that?
So the KRKs are considered the most bassy of studio monitors, and my old wooden ones, they had a really nice bass to them, but it was a rattly bass. And the new Kevlar ones, the bass is so strong it overpowers mostly everything else. And these were the first ones that I listened to where I went, oh, it's just there. Like, I wouldn't even think about getting a subwoofer with these, because it's a nice neutral bass, but like in your, like when we listen to the Sailor music where it's the acapella and the deep voices of the men, there's speakers out there that will allow you to hear the trebles and the mids, and then the bass just kind of gets muddy. These men's voices, as they're singing a cappella, you can hear every single one of these bass singers, and you can separate them out. So the bass is clear.
Yeah.
I don't think I've experienced that on a studio monitor.
No. The other thing about especially vocals, which I really enjoyed, was, and particularly that song was blowing my head away in terms of the detail and what you could hear of these voices. It has to do with the high frequencies. Why? Because that's where the detail comes in. I'm not talking about sounding trebly. I'm talking about just detail. All of these details of the waveforms are actually higher frequencies, and without those, you don't have detail. You have, the frequencies are there, but they're not, you don't hear everything into the recording. It doesn't pull you in. These pull you in. Absolutely.
And I'll include all music links in the description because obviously YouTube would demonetize us for including them, unfortunately, which is just too bad. But I'll include them so you can listen to them on your own speakers. The way that I would describe the mixing of these, like when it comes to like doing video editing and stuff like that and mixing, is because I don't have like the audio lingo for it. It's kind of like what you said where you had a shittier pair of speakers, right? And then you would listen on your big pair of speakers and you'd make sure that they work for both. So my example of that is that when I color correct, I color correct on my monitor, which is color, spider color corrected, right? And then I check it on my iPhone. And if it doesn't match up, I change it on my color corrected monitor to match my iPhone because most people are consuming media on their phones now. So I want it to be, and iPhones have, in my opinion, don't attack, the most accurate screen color out of all of the phones out there. So if it looks good on my iPhone, I know that's what people will most likely see. So I try to keep my monitor to that color.
I would second that too because I also was very picky. I also do movies and stuff like this. So the imaging and coloring is also right up there with the audio with me. And I agree with you. Those are the best phones for in terms of the color accuracy on the screen.
Yeah, just right out of the box. Like you don't have to do a damn thing to it. So that's what these feel like. So when I'm mixing on these, I feel as though my final mix is what I'm hearing versus, and this is what me and this guy in the store talked about for so long was, do you want a flat thing that you then have to have multiple speakers to listen to, which is totally fine, that's acceptable, but it's expensive.
Yes.
And you better have a bigger space than I do. But for someone that's, doing this not full time in a sound studio, right, one pair of speakers to rule them all, where does that exist? And I think I found them with these AV7s because you get what I consider to be my final mix right as you're editing. And you listen on these speakers and you go, okay, and then you put it on the phone. And you go, holy shit, that's exactly what I just heard, even on my little phone. Mind you, you're not going to hear all the detail,
right,
but it's not muddy and it's not too much clarity. It's a nice mix. And then if you want more, you can listen on these, or like if it's a movie or something, you would go to the theater and it would have surround sound and you would get those tones and that mapping of the sound.
Yep, all agreed. It's all about the experience. It's when I had my record label, it was all about, it wasn't just picking the music. It was, okay, how much does this music, when we are transferring it onto a CD medium, how much does it pull at you? How much does it emotionally involve you? And that's a decision that's always being made. But you won't get that unless you have a system that can actually reproduce that emotional part of the music. And yes, it's technical, and yes, it has to do, it's very scientific. But there's fewer and fewer manufacturers, I feel, that are offering that at a reasonable price, relatively reasonable price, right?
So price per dollar, right? So like you have some of the nicest cello speakers I've ever listened to, like even the ones in your living room, the ones that are like about, yay high.
Yeah.
Comparatively to those, this is what I wanted to hear from you, because from what I was hearing, and I talked shortly with you when I was like, hey, you need to come and listen to these. But I said, these sound like, to me, to my ears, the speakers you have in your living room.
They're apogee.
I mean, the ones that you have concrete in the bass that are and so it just...
So there's no extra vibrations.
Right. So am I crazy to have assumed, and you can tell me that no way, Tristan, you're nuts. Like, I don't mind. I don't think Adam Audio would be pissed either, because we're talking about like a couple $1,000 difference between the two speakers. So it's like, do you think that the emotional response that these can elude from them match the audio that comes from those speakers?
I think that in terms of detail, absolutely. And surprisingly, as far as the bass, it gets really close. It really gets close.
You can get a subwoofer for these if you really want to go crazy.
Yeah, if you wanted to. But if you notice, see, this is one thing that's interesting. If you notice on the speakers at home that you like, is that there's a big bottom speaker, of the speaker, which is large, heavy, and has a large woofer speaker,
it's
right?
Real thick.
And at the top, it's a separate piece that rests on top.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually, and that has a tweeter and a mid-range. The thing that's magic about these speakers is that the tweeter and the mid-range is combined into this. I have a feeling that they're getting some of their mid frequencies out of this speaker as well. And I'm taking a wild guess here, but I mean, it's damn close. It's damn close. First of all, I haven't gotten goosebumps like that in quite a while. However they did it, it basically creates this aura of reality around you that's very, very hard to do in any speaker situation. And then, now you look around, and it's not like this is a room like the studio we talked about that I used to sit in and listen to the music. That had specially treated walls, a specially treated ceiling, special flooring. It had material that absorbed all of the energy so that you only heard what was coming from the speakers. Now here we're in a room where it should not sound like that.
No, it's completely untreated.
It does. Right. It envelops you, and you can see where the speakers are, the dark speakers are, and it's in a position that works really, really well. And it's astonishing to me.
There's a window over there, so you're getting glass window, you're getting sound from that room, it's echoing out. You've got a bunch of crap here. Like it's a high ceiling. And so, it's not treated at all. I agree with the envelop part. I think that's what I felt when I was first trying them in the store it was like, I listened to all the other speakers and they were yelling at me. And I was getting tired of it. And I was like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
And so but the Atom Audios, even the smaller fours were like, oh, this is nice. This is relaxing me. This is making me want to listen to different tracks. Oh, what other songs can this play? What else can this do? And so like the Hope song, that specifically was like, whoa. Because like when it drops the and you're just like, whoa, how are you? I'm hearing everything right now.
Listen, this is the big deal. The big deal is that now with all the new technology from these relatively new companies, you've got something that is worth listening to. It gives you emotional satisfaction to listen to music on these speakers. It lets you distract yourself from the rest of the world, and you're just listening to the music and seeing what it does when you absorb it. And yes, obviously I like movies too, where there's a picture that goes with it or what have you, and I enjoy reading on my phone and stuff like that. But for those times when you just want to get your heart warmed up and your soul to get some wonderful honey poured into it, there's really nothing like listening to really well recorded music on really good speakers. And what I'm so happy about is that you don't have to, be a bloody millionaire to afford getting something that sounds like this.
Right.
That's the breakthrough for me. I mean, even with inflation, it's like back in the day, these would be $200 or something like that. That's the equivalent.
Well, these haven't gone up for inflation, so they've remained standard, which is great.
It's great.
The thing that this was the first thing I noticed actually when you said the clarity that comes out of these. So like the first thing I noticed was I was listening to a podcast because not everybody watches movies, and sometimes you just want to listen.
Yeah.
And so the listening experience is so different. I was listening to a group of people that I listen to on a normal podcast, and I could hear every error in every microphone that wasn't properly balanced. All of a sudden, I heard like one guy's microphone was a little bit higher. One guy was using like a crappier microphone. You could see who was using the SM58s, and you could tell who was using like their AirPods, you know what I mean? And normally I wouldn't have been able to hear that, but I was listening and I was like, why does their podcast sound weird all of a sudden? And so that's the only downfall that I've seen from these speakers, is that it will absolutely, if it's not well mixed. Now, it can be an older song that's not well mixed and that'll sound okay because you can kind of get with that. But when it's like spoken word, and it's not well mixed, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is painful. And so you like put it on your phone so it kind of like compresses it all into one track. So but that's also a plus for it, because when you're editing that kind of stuff, you can hear when people's mics are off for the final mix. I'm telling you, these are a final mix type of speaker. I talked to another guy about this. He picked them up from my recommendation, and he listened to a man that plays a piano on literally out in the Arctic on breaking, like on crumbling glaciers.
Oh my God.
And so he's playing piano whilst glaciers are falling.
Oh.
And you can hear all of the sounds, including the music, crystal clear in your eardrums.
How weird.
But it's a very odd experience. It's kind of like an ASMR experience. It's very strange. But like being able to hear those things in unison and it doesn't muddy it together.
Right.
Like if you listened on your phone.
It lets you separate everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it separates all the different aspects of what's going around, and it kind of makes that like surround sound, even though you only have these two speakers. So
I'm sold.
Well, I'm glad you came to listen, because like I've been waiting for a while. I got these a little bit ago, and so like the reason I'm playing specifically on the black ones and not the special editions, other than the fact that I'm indecisive and don't know what color scheme I want, the black ones are burned in. Like they've gotten a lot of playtime, and I wanted him to have the warmest experience with them. Although when I first got these speakers, they sounded fantastic as much as they do now. I think they just have a little bit more warmth now to them.
Yeah, that's always been true with every speaker, so I'm not surprised. They need some warm break-in time.
Right.
Is what it would be called. Yeah.
Because in the beginning, I was doing more adjustments with the back of it to like, boost the treble, lower it, a little more bass, a little less. And then as time went over, I was like, let me go right across the board and neutral.
I'll tell you, good speakers and listening to good speakers is like fine wine aging. It is. It's like after X amount of time, all of a sudden it's like the speakers are almost glowing. There's a glow
for sure. Yeah, it's
audio glow.
It's like shooting a gun and your barrel gets red, and you're like, all right, I'm doing good,
right?
But like my headphones too. Shut up. My headphones too. It took time for them to break in, so I get that. And so if you're looking for like a really like a buy now and keep for a long time, I think that you would be remiss to not check these out. I know everybody on the internet is like KRK or Yamaha. But I'm sorry, the Yamahas to me are absolutely the most fatiguing, hissing sound in your ears that hurts. And then the KRKs are just mud. It doesn't even, they're not the same speakers that they used to be. And I don't have a problem saying this. Like some people, well, they'll never work with you. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like the sound profile on these are so much more elevated than that. And the price range, if you get like the step down from this, the A4s, is cheaper. The A4s are cheaper, but they still have a better sound than the KRKs. Yeah. And the Yamaha 7H8s, whatever, they're huge. They're bigger than these. That's the other thing. The only difference between these and the other ones is that these are deeper, and I think that helps with the bass. And it has the front, expelling of the vent. Yeah. And because of the deepness of them, it allows for more resonance. The Yamahas are tall and fat. And so there's a lot of echo going on, and it doesn't, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, some people love them, and I'm not saying if you love them, like you're wrong.
Well, right, no, I mean, I'll tell you this, is that people have come to me because of my experience and have always said, so which one should I buy?
Yeah.
And my answer is always the same. Go and listen.
Right.
You have to listen. It's a very personal experience. And so people are going to have preferences. But
I don't think you'll ever go and try these and say they suck, though. I don't think anybody would listen to these and not like them.
I would say that that's true.
There's like a universal sound profile on them.
You owe it to yourself to give these a listen. In wherever when you can, and
even the A4s, and try the A4s too,
and then write to him and complain if you don't like it. It's like that's how it works, and you don't have what my name is anywhere, so it's like I'm
pretty sure they know you now at this point. What's Tristan Pope's dad's name? Let's find out. But yeah, no, I would say definitely check them out. We'll put links in the description, all that stuff. And even the lower level, these are the more expensive ones that you buy and you keep. Like I would say, if you have the money, definitely splurge on these. If you don't have the money, that's totally fine. And I'm not one of those people that's like, you gotta get the best of the best. Like if you can only afford something, then get the best within your price range.
Yeah. Maybe
Maybe $699 for both. Like it's an insane price for the A4s. I don't remember exactly. Maybe
great,
$7.99.
This is a great investment.
I keep going up.
Yes.
I'm like maybe $9,999.
But these are a great investment for. I mean, you know, when you think about your expenses in a year and stuff like that, doing something for yourself or yourselves that will give you this much pleasure. Is something and can, you know, just it's something you can go to. It's my music,
right? And like for the first week
really
or two,
does.
Yeah, for the first week or two, I didn't even want to put in my headphones while I was playing games. I just wanted to enjoy the soundscape of like Battlefield 5 and the surround of gunfire and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I ended up like not wanting to play with my friends because I can't like be on mic and have my speakers open.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'm busy. And I'm like playing video games alone in my little cave because I'm just like, the sound is amazing. So yeah, I mean, that speaks volumes because, you know, I love playing with my friends, but man, that first week or two, that was just something else.
I know, but listen, I'm glad you invited me to give these a listen. And, you know, and I came in totally open-minded because it's like, he was so excited about them and it's like, okay, I got to hear these. And he started playing them for me and I was like, oh, blank.
Yeah, I mean, I
won't say it.
I didn't know. What were you say? Fuck.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
No,
okay.
Is that allowed? I don't know.
You can curse on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're allowed 1 or something.
No, it's after like 10 minutes. There's some stupid algorithm. I don't really give a shit, to be honest. That's why I took the reaction video of your face because I wanted to see how you reacted to the music first time hearing.
Oh, if my sleeve had been up, you would have seen the hairs go right up.
I mean, you're
it went up it went up on my legs as well. That's like deep emotional connection.
I mean, but you're also sitting in the hot seat, and I'm sitting next to you, and I'm still getting goosebumps from what I'm listening to. And when you played me songs that I hadn't heard, I was like, "What the hell? This is crazy! This is great.
What an experience!
Cool."
Yeah.
Longest video in the history of Tristan's YouTube, but I wanted to do like more of a podcast. Plus also like what customer service to be able to like send like thank you for sure. Like you literally went above and beyond what I asked for. I wanted to pay for these and you're like, no, just do a video if you want to.
Yeah.
And show everybody the different speakers.
I'm glad to do this, you know, for you, of course, and for them as well, because I think this is, after, you know, listening, it's like, this is something,
I think their
gotta
tech
get the word out.
I think their tech is very interesting.
To definitely vouch for the tech. It's groundbreaking.
Plus, German built speakers have always been high quality. Like they know sound.
Yes.
And so after seeing his responses and his reactions to it, and I know he's not bullshitting, he's not just sitting here going, oh, well, my son's making a video, I better agree with him. He would tell me to go fuck off if he didn't like it. So he'd be like, why did you waste your money on these things? Now you have 2 pairs, what a waste. I have a feeling he's going to try to take these out with him on the way out.
The thought had crossed my mind, but that's okay. You keep them.
And I ended up selling the old KRKs for about what I paid for them because the new ones, people understand that they just don't sound as good.
Interesting. Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, you have the special edition wooden ones. I want those." And so I literally made my money back on those.
It's great.
10 years later, and so these didn't cost me much at all, which was fantastic. Anyway, the point of that is that I wanted to share this experience with you, and I don't think that audio is so subjective that I thought that the only way to really do this was to kind of do like a back and forth podcast with my dad. And like, you know, we both have different ideas of audio, but we're also very aligned in terms of like, we hold audio at a high standard. And
well, I think we emotionally react similar to really good played music and with good equipment, you know, when you're listening to it, it affects us both the same emotionally.
I think you're the only person that I walk out of like theaters with after watching a movie and going, "Oh man, that soundtrack! Did you hear that?" Like everybody else is like, "Oh man, Thanos snapped," and I'm like, "No, dude, did you hear the music when he did that? That was sick. The crescendo at that moment, that was woo." And you know, my mom's also a music teacher, so like music has been around me for a long time. So anything that can make music a more pleasurable experience, I like to share that with people. The fact that it can make my workflow better and easier because when I'm editing on these, I'm hearing the final mix in my ears for what you will hear. That's worth its weight in gold. And then the cherry on top is the gaming, like I said. Like being able to game and get this. Like I was listening to games that I had played for years, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's wind sounds.
Oh.
What?
You're going to have to do some when we're done here.
Yeah.
I want to hear some games on this.
Yeah,
too.
if you have the chance, go to a Guitar Center or somewhere that allows you to play different speakers, bring your music, and even over Bluetooth, like, you'll be able to tell what you like. And I think that these are a really good place. So if you want the high-end ones, this is like a mid-end one, by the way. So this is about $1,500 for the two. The low-end ones, I think, is like $799. I think that was my budget.
Yeah.
And then this happened, and I was like, damn it, I just doubled my budget. But Guitar Center actually price matched, so I ended up paying like $1,100. So yeah, it was a really good deal.
I can't live without them.
It was so hard. It was like the easiest decision, but also like the hardest decision at the same time, because I was like, am I going to drop this amount of money? And then like I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? They're going to get a lifespan of what my KRKs did, and that's 10 years. And so I divided the price by 10, and I was like, absolutely worth it.
Good way to look at it.
Like I go shopping, 7 shopping trips now is more expensive than these speakers.
Oh, hell yeah.
But the lower end ones, the sound profile is fantastic. You just won't hear the clarity of like the bow coming off of the violin as much.
Right.
And then their super high end ones are like vertical, and you need a massive space for those. And so I didn't even listen to them because I didn't want to like, I was like, no.
Don't empty wallet.
I don't want to buy a new house too. Like it's not happening. So I didn't listen to them. So I don't know what they sound like. I'm imagining they're freaking fantastic because I look at videos.
Why don't we go into the store and listen?
We should.
Just for
True.
yucks.
Yeah.
Just so I can see what they also sound like. Yeah.
Most editor suites that I've seen on like professional editors, like the professional color graders and Avid editor, not Avid editors, DaVinci Resolve, like color grade editors, where they're color grading for professional studios, and so the clients come there, and so their studio is set up for the clients, not for them. So the client comes in with, and they want to see the color.
It's like a mini theater,
right? So they're not just coming in to see the color; they want to see the color with the sound. The color editor is just doing the color,
and the reason for that is that everything that's done in a movie is to try and get an emotional reaction from it.
Yes.
So it's not just the sound, but music can have an enormous amount of impact on your emotional response to a movie. And they want to see and they want to hear that while they're coloring.
No, exactly. Yeah. So
that the colors are working with the music.
Absolutely. So it's for the color editor. I'd say 1/3 of but it's for the end user 100%.
Yeah.
And single studio I've seen in the higher end of Hollywood echelons are using Atom Audio, from what I've gathered. I don't.
I'm not surprised.
Just because I did a little research afterwards, and I was like, who else is using these? And I was actually shocked to see how many people, and they don't have hiss, which is the biggest thing. I have it plugged into a Rode Duo 2 audio, and we're both labbed up through that wirelessly. I have a computer underneath of me. I have a lot of electronics around me, and you don't hear any electronic hiss, and I'm not balanced. I have this one plugged into one outlet and this one plugged into another due to the way that the electricity works in this room. So they're not balanced. And that's still giving you...
What that's speaking to also is that the electronics, the amplifiers in here are very good. I mean, don't forget, in the old days, you had to buy a separate amplifier, a separate preamplifier, right, for all the inputs. Yeah. Then you had an amplifier, and then you had the speakers. So think of the money you're saving here in terms of, you don't have to buy a high-end amplifier. Yeah. There's a high-end amplifier in this, I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, and then in the olden days, you had to like put those little things in your ear that like look like tubas or trumpets, so you could hear things. You're like, hello?
Now you just stick it in your ear and you're like, oh.
No, now you just buy AirPod 2s that have hearing aids built into them. That's medical grade.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're completely off track now.
We are.
And so I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope that this has been helpful to those of you that are looking at Atom Audio or have never even heard of it. As always, it's always a conversation on this channel. Ask anything you want in the comments. We will both happily reply. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, a like. If you hated it, a dislike. If you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff where I go on a journey to basically make the best studio space that I can for me, and hopefully it helps you, feel free to subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.